It's Friday, it's 10 o'clock, and that means it is Football School Friday. Welcome back. My name is Ben Littleton. I'm the author of the Football School series of books. Lots of books in this series. I wrote them because I want to explain the world through football. This is the school where boring lessons get the red card and we learn about the world through football. That's right, I wrote these books with my best friend Alex Bellos. He's not here, obviously, because he's in isolation. This is what he looks like. Very similar to me with a beard, but he's got big black curly hair. In case you don't know what that looks like, it is this. So when I'm talking about Alex, I like to wear the Alex wig. And there are plenty of videos on our YouTube channel, if you just look below this one, where you can see Alex and I talking about all sorts of silly stuff. And today we're going to talk about serious stuff. We're going to do a lesson in geography. We're going to explain how some of the countries that played at the World Cup are influenced through their geography and football. But I like to start every Football School Friday with a song. And today's song is something that I've written very specially just for today. And I want you all to sing it with me, because singing together gives us a sense of community, a sense of belonging. It's why football fans all sing together. But of course, you don't know the tune to the song that I'm going to show you. I should warn you, like I always do, that I am an amazing singer. Amazingly bad. So these are the lyrics to the song, and I'm going to tell you the tune. It goes like this. We love Friday, Football School Friday. I just want you to understand. It's funner than your school. We only talk football. We love Football School Friday. Simple and not quite on tune, but forgive me for that. So when I blow my referee's whistle, I want you all to join me singing this song. Let's go. We love Friday, Football School Friday. I just want you to understand. It's funner than your school. We only talk football. We love Football School Friday. Excellent. Now give yourselves a big clap. That's a great start to this day's Football School Friday. We've done our song. I feel like we're all part of a community now. The Football School Friday community. After that comes what? Our warm-up. We're going to do a very quick warm-up exercise. And I'm going to ask you 3 very quick questions. And depending on your answers, you're going to do star jumps or you're going to run on the spot. So I need you to be standing up for this. It will be star jumps if you answer yes to the first part of the question, or running on the spot if you answer yes to the second part of the question. And they're difficult questions this week. Okay, there's no wrong or right answer. But the first question is, I'm going to give you 1 season to live in for the rest of your life. If you want that season to be summer, I want you to do 3 star jumps. If you want that season to be winter, I want you to run on the spot. Now think about this, because summer means sunshine, swimming, probably lots of ice cream. But winter means snowball fights and Christmas, and probably ice cream too. So I prefer summer to winter, so I'm going to do the star jumps. 1, 2, 3. Next one. Are you Team Ronaldo or are you Team Messi? Simple question. 2 of the greatest players ever to have played football. If you love Ronaldo more than Messi, do your star jumps. If you love Messi more than Ronaldo, do your running on the spot. I'm a Messi man today. Sometimes it changes. I'm going to go running on the spot. Okay, next question is much easier than those 2. If you are the youngest person in your house, the youngest person, you don't have anyone younger living with you in the house in isolation, then you need to do your star jumps. If you have people that are younger than you, like I do, you're going to run on the spot. Okay, here we go, running on the spot. And that concludes the warm-up. Well done. So we've done our song. We feel part of a community. We've done our warm-up now, so we're all ready to go. Probably done PE this morning already as well. So that leads us on to the next part, which is our lesson, geography, on Football School Friday. And geography is the study of the world and how it affects us as people. And in geography, we're going to look at 2 countries with teams that played in the last World Cup. One is a massive country and one's a very small country. But in both cases, the geography of the country affects the way they play football. Okay, so let's start with the first country, which is one of the biggest countries in the world, one of the most successful when it comes to football. Anyone guess it's in South America? It's Brazil. Well done if you guessed that. It's Brazil. It's the biggest country in South America. Population of 210 million people. So huge country, almost 4 times as big as the United Kingdom. And they've won the World Cup more times than any other nation in the world. And they produce more professional players than anyone else as well. Loads of Brazilians come over from Brazil to Europe and show their skills. Can you name or think of any famous Brazilian players that are playing in Europe right now? I'll give you some clues. One plays for Liverpool. There's a very famous one at PSG. Lots in the Premier League. Some at Chelsea, some at Manchester City. Plenty at Real Madrid as well. The most famous is probably Neymar, isn't it? The most expensive and most skillful player playing in the world today. But there are plenty more. Roberto Firmino, Philippe Coutinho, also formerly of Liverpool, Manchester City. You think of Gabriel Jesus or Ederson. The Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson Becker, of course. And at Chelsea you've got Willian there, and David Luiz at Arsenal. There are loads of Brazilians who play in the Premier League, but also all across the world. And one of the most famous and successful and greatest players of all time, of course, is Pelé. Another Brazilian. He won the World Cup 3 times in 1958, 1962 and 1970. And I know a little story about Pelé because my friend Alex, who we know looks like this, used to live in Brazil. So there he was in Brazil, just hanging out on the beach, and he actually worked really hard when he was there. He lived there for 5 years and he wrote a book about Brazilian football. And it became really successful, fantastic book, one of the greatest books I've read on football. And loads of people liked it, loads of people read it, including Pelé. And then Pelé decided to write a book about his own life as well. And guess who he asked to help him write that book, his autobiography? He asked my friend Alex, the person I'm pretending to be right now, with mixed success, I would imagine. So Alex wrote Pelé's book for him as well. So Alex is now friends with Pelé. I'm friends with Alex, and I think that makes me friends with Pelé, the greatest or one of the greatest footballers ever to have lived. Now, we are getting away from the subject, which is, of course, geography. What has all this got to do with geography? And what has the geography of Brazil got to do with the fact that they produce such fantastic footballers? Well, it's actually got a lot to do with it. Because when you think about Brazil, what do you think about? The great footballers, maybe the weather, but also what is in Brazil that's a geographical landmark there. The rainforest, the Amazon rainforest. It's the biggest rainforest in the world. And what is the temperature like? What is the climate like in the rainforest? Well, it's very rainy, isn't it? There's a clue in the name. It's very, very rainy. And so that makes it very, very difficult with the heat as well, the humidity, the tropical temperatures. It makes it very difficult for grass pitches to grow in lots of areas in Brazil. And if there are no flat grass pitches in Brazil, where do people play football? Well, they play on the beach, and it's really hard to play on the beach. If you've ever played football on the beach, it's very wobbly, it's very wonky, your ankles often give way, you don't know which way the wind's blowing, it's tricky. But they also play in the cities in tiny, tiny spaces. Cities like Rio and Sao Paulo, really busy and built up. There are lots of people living there, so there are not many spaces. So they perfect their skills on the streets. And they often play a game called futsal, which is an indoor game with a heavier, smaller ball. And those 3 things, playing on the beach, playing in small cities, in small spaces, and inside futsal, helps them and allows them to develop their skills in a very sophisticated way. They're very, very skillful. And one of the reasons is they've turned this disadvantage of having to play in difficult spaces into an advantage. And that's because of the geography of Brazil. The geography of Brazil has made them become very, very skillful as individuals. And that's one of the reasons why they produce such brilliant players. There's another reason why, and that's to do with the culture of Brazil. And every year in Rio, they host a Rio Carnival where everyone comes out to dance to the national music of Brazil. And the national music of Brazil is the samba. Now, Pelé taught Alex how to samba. And samba is a certain style of music where you wiggle your hips and you keep your upper body very straight. And the reason that's significant for footballers is because Brazilian footballers tend to samba when they're playing football. If you watch Neymar or Willian or Firmino dribble past an opponent. They're using their hips. They're very, very flexible in their hips, as though they're dancing the samba. So I thought at the end of the first part of this geography lesson, we should all dance the samba, because Pele taught Alex how to dance the samba. Alex taught me how to dance the samba. And I'm not going to play any samba music because it's complicated if I do. So I thought it'd be easier if I just stand up, and when I blow my whistle, we're all going to try and dance the samba. Okay? 1, 2, 3. So we're going to wiggle our hips and keep our upper body very, very straight. Okay? This is how we do it, dance the samba. And then, of course, if Alex wants to dance the samba as well when he's in isolation, this is how he does it. Okay? We dance the samba like that. So wiggle those hips. Keep on dancing the samba. Just like Willian, just like Firmino, just like Neymar, just like Marcelo, just like all the skillful Brazilian players who dribble past players like Coutinho and Marcelo and David Luiz. And that is your samba. That is your Brazilian samba. And that is one of the reasons why Brazilians are so skillful when they play football. They're dancing the samba when they're dribbling past players, but also the geography of Brazil makes it very hard for grass pitches to grow. And so they learn their skills in other areas, in smaller spaces, on the beach, or playing futsal. That's to do with the geography. And the other country I want to talk about in this geography lesson is a much smaller country. In fact, it's the smallest ever country to have qualified for the World Cup. And in 2018, the nation of Iceland qualified for the World Cup. There are only 300,000, just over 300,000 inhabitants in Iceland. That's about 4 full Wembley stadiums, or the size of a place like Coventry or Reading. It's 700 times smaller than Brazil, and yet they still qualified for one of the biggest tournaments in the world. So how did they do this? And what has the geography of Iceland got to do with that? Well, let me tell you a little bit about Iceland, and we'll work it out. Because Iceland is halfway between the UK and the North Pole. It's really in Northern Europe, Northern Europe. And it's named Iceland, obviously, because it's full of ice. 10% of the country is covered by glaciers, which are vast sheets of slow-moving ice. Now, I've got some ice here in my little cup, and I'm going to do something with the ice a bit later. I'm going to put it down the back of my neck. I'm not going to do it now, because I'm going to hopefully make sure that ice melts a little bit more, like a slow-moving glacier. And glaciers are formed over many years, not just the course of a Football School Friday lesson. And it happens when snow doesn't melt and it turns to ice. So the ice sheets are constantly moving over their own weight. And as well as the ice in Iceland, there are loads of volcanoes, over 130 volcanoes in Iceland. And they erupt around once every 4 years. So there's this combination of extreme heat, fire, and ice. But the fact that they're volcanoes, that means that under the ground, they're bubbling pools of this hot water, which are like vents of steam. And they're called geysers, and they're all over the country. And in the capital city of Iceland, which is called Reykjavik, it actually translates as Smoky Bay. And it's a name that dates from the time Viking settlers arrived there over 1,000 years ago. And they found that hot springs produce steam. And so there are loads of hot springs all over Iceland. So even though it's full of ice, you get hot springs as well. So you can have an outdoor bath all year round, even though it's really cold. So what has all this got to do with football? What is all this geography of the ice and the volcanoes and the geysers and the hot springs? What has all that got to do with football? Well, obviously the snow and the ice make it really hard to play football outside all year round. It also gets dark really early in Iceland in winter. So in Reykjavik, the sun might rise at 11 o'clock in the morning and it might set at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're only getting 4 hours of sunlight a day. So it's very, very dark. So with the dark and the ice and the cold and the snow, just like Brazil, it's hard to have grass pitches. In Iceland, it's simply hard just to play outside, to find anywhere. So to solve this problem, the FA in Iceland, only recently, in the last 20 years or so, they built as many indoor football pitches as possible. And they call these football houses. And there are about 150 of these indoor arenas. And usually they're next to a school. So that means that you finish school and you can go and play football in a football house. How great would that be? Perfect for football school as well. You play football in a football house, and there are loads of qualified coaches in Iceland. There are over 600 qualified coaches. That means that each coach can look after about 500 players, which seems a lot, but when you compare it to England, for example, per coach, there are about 11,000 players. So the players are getting a very keen and close teaching and education from their coaches. So that's another reason why Iceland is really good at football. And I spoke to one of my Icelandic friends who's called Christian Jonsson, and he gave me some other reasons why Iceland are so good at football. And I'm going to read a few of them out to you. And while I do so, I'm going to don a Viking helmet, which is very authentic. As you can see, there's my Viking helmet, made out of a cereal packet. It's not quite straight, but let's get that Viking helmet. Whoa, that's totally the wrong way around. There we go. Okay, so this is what Christian said. Icelanders are descended from the Vikings, and they come from generations of fishermen and farmers. So growing up doing physical work in harsh weather conditions encourages this tough attitude to life. So they're used to it. It's part of their history, their ancestry. It's a Viking mentality that they have to cope with this hardship and to get through it. And the other thing that makes Iceland so good at football is that their players have played with each other ever since they were kids. They started going to these football houses when they were at school. And they've known each other since they were young. So they know each other really well. That allows them to build up a team spirit, which can be a huge advantage. And they also understand the value of teamwork. In a small community like Iceland, no one likes to show off. So no one acts like they're better than anyone else. And the small size of the island means that the community is really strong. So everyone knows each other. And the teams celebrate with the fans because they are fans too. And a great example of that is the coach, or the former coach, the coach who took them to the World Cup in 2018. His name is Heimir Helgason, and his job, as well as being a football coach, was a dentist. And so he used to look after the teeth of the fans and then go and coach the team. So he was part of the community, heavily part of the local community. If you think how many people your dentist might see, and then he's going coaching the national team. And there's one thing I also really like about Iceland, it's the way they name their players, or the way they name everyone, in fact. And so in Iceland, I'll just read this little bit from the book as well. They don't have family names, so they won't have a surname like we have. Instead, the people in Iceland usually use the names of their fathers or their mothers as their surname. And if you are a boy, you would have son on the end. And if you're a girl, for son, son of. And if you're a girl, you'd have dottir, which means daughter. So my father was called Jonathan, so I would be called Ben Johnson, or I would be called Ben Andreasen, because that's my mother's side. And Alex would be called Alex Davidson. So think about the name of your parents, and if you are a girl, add dottir to the first name of your mum or your dad. And if you are a boy, add just the word son on the end of it. So Iceland's top scorer in female football is called Margaret Vidarsdottir. So she is Margaret, the daughter of Vidarsdottir. And one of my favourite Icelandic players is Helga Helgason. And he is, he's called Haida Helgason. And he is Haida, the son of Helga. So think about what your Icelandic name would be. So we started off with a song in this Football School Friday lesson. We did some great warm-ups. We spoke about the geography of Brazil and how there are no grass pitches, and that's why they learn their skills in different areas. And the geography of Iceland with its fire, its volcanoes, its hot springs, and of course, lots and lots of ice, which is going on my head now. It's really cold. It's balancing. It's really cold. It's Icelandic. It's Icelandic. Now, I'm going to tell you before I freeze, don't forget to contact us. You can send us any questions, askfootballschool@gmail.com or @benlit and hashtag Football School Friday. I've got to take this ice off. It is freezing. It's freezing. Use the hashtag Football School Friday. You can ask me anything. And I should just say, last week we got a great response to our team badges. I should have said this is the football. Whoops, where's the Football School team badge? My Football School team badge is here. It's got a football and a book to represent learning and, of course, a pitch. There were some brilliant ones. Thank you for sending those through. Amelia, Phoebe, and Jamie. They were brilliant, so thank you for those. And send me your questions and we'll answer them next week. But as I said, we are showing, if I can find my red card, boring lessons to red card through football. And once again, thank you for joining me on a Football School Friday. Here comes the final whistle.